Happy Tuesday. If you're here live or watching on the replay, thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Al Ingalls, creator of the Pressure Free Method. If you've never been here or checked out my site, I created an on-the-go stress management method that you can use anywhere, anytime to mitigate the release of these stress hormones, to slow down the feelings that you're going to be nervous or angry or anxious. Um, Anything that's going to take you out of your game. Let's put it that way. So for years, ever since I was a tiny girl, I was a violinist and did a lot of performing in every way possible. Also was a conductor, so I conducted orchestras for a while. And certainly taking the stage can be a time when you start to feel nervous, whether you're a speaker, performer, also in sports, anytime you're performing, performing, we'll put it that way. But even in meetings or getting called on in class if you're a student, um, or taking tests. So I had a client who was a financial advisor, and she would be so nervous before her tests. It was even hard to see the tests and hear the instructor because she was so triggered by fight or flight. So I wanted to give some tips to help in times when you're starting to feel that nervousness. And first of all, it's very natural to feel that because we're about to do something that it usually has some sort of judgment around it. And a very basic feeling deep inside of us is that if we don't do it well enough, we'll be kicked out of the tribe. And we will do everything possible to not be kicked out of the tribe because that could mean that we don't survive. So if we're putting ourselves out there in any sort of way, speaking, performing, um, going over and above what we've done before, taking some big test, there's this feeling of judgment that we have to prove ourselves. And so I want to flip the switch on that for you today and have you move instead of what I call the spirit of competition into the spirit of contribution. Each one of us in any given time can only do our best in a situation with the conditions. For example, my runners that I've coached, we can only do so well as we have prepared, as the conditions of the weather, like all these things, and how we're thinking about it all. So if we can change how we think about it, and I'll give you an example of it, that can change everything. And I'm sure he doesn't mind me sharing this, but I had a runner who won, let's see, what year would have been? 2017. I think it was, oh, 2016. Anyway, he won the All-City Cross Country Championship in Battle Creek, Michigan. On paper, he was not scheduled to win that day. And when he first came to work with me, he said, I don't run well in heat. Don't like the heat. It's just my nemesis. Don't run in heat. So over the course of our work together, I started to just get him open to the possibility with that swim. I didn't even have the swim tool back then, but really that's what it was. It was like, could he be open to the possibility that he could run well in no matter what the temperature is? Hot, cold, perfect, doesn't matter. Like he's just letting himself run. So the day of that All-City Championship, there were warnings, heat warnings. It was over 90 degrees at some points during that day. We kept thinking they're going to cancel the meet. In fact, I was keeping a pulse on it. So were all the other coaches. I'm a performance coach. I'm not the high school coach, but I was kind of watching it. They decided to run the meet. It's very humid, quite hot. And so my client now has in his head open to the possibility that I can run well in the heat. The course had two loops in the woods, and so he was right where I thought he might be in the first loop. Second loop, he's winning. Like he comes out of the woods and he's just flying. His family, I can still see his grandpa just like elated. Like his family just couldn't even believe it. Like it was so, so cool. So he overcame a supposition in his head I'm going to start using this word quite a bit, but these, he overcame an assumption or this supposition he can't run well in the heat. So if you're feeling nervous before an event, there's usually something like you're nervous about being in front of certain people if you're performing. It's not all the people, it's just certain people. You're nervous that you won't get the result of the test that you want. There's some hidden thing in there. So opening up the possibility that you'll do fine. Open up the possibility that it will all go well, whatever words work for you. But doing that swim tool, so in the past, I've been nervous before I've taken the stage. I'm now open to the possibility that I just walk out there totally in the zone and have the greatest time, right? So what is it that you want to achieve? Putting some real concreteness to that. Is that a word? Concreteness? Concrete details. So how do you want to feel? How do you want to experience it? If it's a time block on your calendar, write a word down that describes how you want to feel while you're doing that thing. Do you want to feel amazing? Do you want to feel light? Do you find, runners, I just like them to fly across the ground instead of right hard. So it's like I will yell, fly, baby, fly. That's like my cheer. There's people today that still remember me doing that and miss it because it was just like, be light, have fun. Aren't we supposed to have fun on this planet while we're here? So switching the thoughts, that's huge. But let me give you some other physical things you can do because, this nervousness is in our head. These thoughts are in our head, and then you start to feel symptoms. When do you use these? The moment you start to feel any sort of tension, the moment you start to feel any sort of things in your body, like your stomach starting to feel weird, your palms getting sweaty, your face maybe starting to blush a little bit, your heart rate going up. The heart rate is a real clue for sure. The moment you start to feel your heart rate go up from a resting heart rate and you're not exerting yourself. Have you ever felt that? Like you're just sitting still, about to take some test or do some speech, and you start to feel your heart rate going up, and you're not even moving. That's the fight or flight stress response. It has to pump up because what's going to happen is going to release this huge flood of hormones into our bloodstream that wick fat and glucose from our extremities. So now we can fight or run away. But now we're not thinking very well. That's why if you have test anxiety, you know material, but then you go to take the test and you can't bring it. Like you can't bring it forward. And that's because that hippocampus is shut down somewhat and our decision making is shut down. So like true, false, multiple choice, it's just all confusing when you're trying to do a test and you've triggered fight or flight. So what happens when you don't? Everything that you learned is in there. Like we can start to access things. I have accessed violin lessons from 40 odd years ago, almost exact words from my professors and teachers when I'm in the right frame of mind, when I haven't triggered the stress response and I'm looking for an answer to something I'm trying to do. Like I'm working on the Beethoven concerto. Don't ask me why, I'm not performing it anywhere. But I'm working on the Beethoven concerto. I just pulled it out recently and it's like, oh my gosh, I love playing this. It's basically arpeggios and scales. It's like, but I just love playing it and a lot of octaves. Um, so here's the physical things you can do. You start to feel your heart rate going up. Immediately go to your abs and relax your belly. Do you see how, like, if my belly's tight, do you notice a little tension in here on me? If I relax my belly, do you see what happens? All I'm doing is tightening my belly, relaxing my belly. So by relaxing your belly, you literally tell your brain you don't have to be nervous or worried here. It's a neuroscience trick. Okay, so relax your belly. It's going to relax the whole front of you, get you a little more soft and relaxed. Then take your hands and, I'll back up here and show you. So take your hands, top of your thighs, and roll down your legs like this. I learned this from Leela Veronica that our nervous system has a directionality to it. So if you do this, just down, not down and up, you'll see people go down and up like this. No, you just want to go down, okay? So down your legs. That's soothing your nervous system. You can go down your arms too. If you look at your arms and look at the hairs on your arms, you'll see that they have a direction to it. Think about a dog or a cat, like you're patting them, their fur has a direction. When you first meet one of those animals, they want you to pat in the direction of the fur until you really get to know them, then you can kind of go all over. But to soothe, we go in the direction of the fur. We're the same way. We have fur, we're mammals. So take a look at your hairs, and that's going to tell you it's kind of down and swirling out. That's very calming. So you get to pet yourself. On the thighs, most people won't even notice. If you start doing your arms, you can do that when you're backstage or in the car and just getting this really soft, getting the tops of your hands soft. I learned that from Leila Veronica. She's such a great body coach. She's a great business coach too. But this right here has been a game changer. I used to hold so much tension in my hands. Um, and getting the tops of the hands very soft. It's great. It's really great. So those are a couple things you can do. Relax the belly, go down your thighs a few times. Smile, keep your head up because if your head tips down, it's very easy to be nervous, anxious, sad, depressed. But if your head is up, it's much more difficult to experience those kinds of emotions. So keep your chin up, keep your head up, look out to the horizon. Give yourself this opportunity to be settled in you. You are perfect exactly the way you are. Exactly the way you are. However the event turns out is how it's going to turn out. And it's all okay. It really is all okay. So people are far less judgmental than we think they are. And if they are going to judge us because we're up in front of them doing something, um, chances are they actually don't even have the authority or agency to really be judging us. They've never gone through what we've gone through. They've never prepared material the way we've prepared. So that judging aspect is interesting, that negative criticism that we can get. There's a cool little formula that I teach my clients that it's like, no, we can actually release some of those thoughts that go through our head about that. So down the front of your thighs, relax your belly, keep your head up, smile. When you smile, you keep your neuropeptides moving around in here, and that allows your brain to think. So now you can make those better decisions. You can access your hippocampus. You can remember your piece. When I was at the Miss New Hampshire pageant, was a lovely pianist. Like really, I was so excited to see a real piano come out on stage. And the first night of talent, she had a memory lapse. So she just kept repeating. She didn't stop playing, which was so good. She just kept repeating the opening, just kept repeating and repeating until finally some of it came in. She had a couple memory lapses in it, but she stayed, I'm sure that it was definitely fight or flight that caused her to have the memory lapse, but it was great to see her overcoming it by just staying in the game. So if you make a mistake on stage, if you flub up your speech, if you start like talking, like your throat's a little tight, relax your belly and you can even make a comment to the audience like, what did I just say? Like have humor with it. People love humor and they actually don't mind mistakes. It's like that excitement in the Olympics when something goes wrong and then the person overcomes it and still wins, We get all excited about that. Most of the time, people in the audience just want you to do your best. Besides, they're so consumed in their own thoughts and their own problems of the day that they're not really tuned in anyway. In fact, if you're giving a speech, I'm going to say 90% of the people in the room are already triggered by the stress response. They can't even think. They can't even think well. They could already be in negative thoughts that have nothing to do with you. So it's amazing when you can start to feel this like in the zone feeling all day long. That's what pressure free is about. Like you're no longer trying to beat everybody else. You're actually just giving your best under those circumstances. And you're so tuned in to what your motive in the beginning for wanting to share this talk or perform this piece. What is that? So I hope this has been helpful. I've helped so many people, so many students with test anxiety, so many adults with it too, because there's certain professions in which you need to be you are tested, um, and of course any sort of performing. So have a great pressure-free day.